next guests are arguably two of the most inspirational women in the world. This weekend, at International Women's Day event, they're hoping to inspire others.
So Bianca Jagger is the founder of the Bianca Jagger Human Rights Foundation, which, among many other things, dedicates itself to ending violence against women and girls. And alongside her this morning is Julia Gillard, Australia's first and still only female Prime Minister. And it was a speech in Parliament which saw her stand up to misogyny that has been voted as the most unforgettable TV moment. Wow. Bianca Jagger and Julia Gillard join us now. Welcome to both of you. I mean, were you aware at that moment that it was going to be such a seminal moment for everybody?
Absolutely not, no. It was a speech given in a particular political context on the day, and I knew that it was a forceful speech because in the Parliament you're actually quite close to the opposition and they went from, you know, yelling and screaming and carrying on to sort of dropping their heads to becoming very entranced by their phones. So you knew that the speech had landed with some force, but I had no idea that it would resonate outside and that we would still be talking about it all these years later.
Why do you think it did, Julia? Why do you think people sort of looked at it and voted it the most memorable moment and really turned round and said, that was wonderful?
I think we all live, particularly as women, with some, oh, I wish I had moments, you know, the 3 a.m. when you wake up in the middle of the night and something has happened the day before and you've been the subject of sexist or disrespectful treatment and the great one-liner comes to you 3 a.m. in the morning and you're like, oh, I wish I'd said that yesterday. I think the speech has come to mean something for women in that moment. So they watch it as a way of you know, that frustration, working it through, that there is a way of calling out sexism and misogyny, even if sometimes all of us miss the moment and the absolute pearl of line that was right just then.
Did it change anything?
I don't think the speech changed anything. I think it changed the discourse a little bit. You know, we are talking more about misogyny. I think the word misogyny was brought back into the frame. I think for women, it's obviously been something that's given them a bit of strength, so that's good. But really, it's not one speech, it's never one woman. It's always the collective coming together and saying, we've had enough, that changes society. And whilst it's several years since that speech, we've still got a lot to change. I'm here in London because I chair the Global Institute for Women's Leadership at King's College, and we've got survey data out today from 27 countries. Here in Britain, the statistic is that 30% of men, 1 in 3, say that it's okay to do a joke in the workplace that is of a sexual nature, and 1 in 10 say it's okay to have a sexual poster or something on display in the workplace. And I think lots of us would have said, oh, didn't we leave all that behind us 10, 20 years ago? But no, there's still things to do.
How have things changed for you, do you think, Bianca, when you look at the landscape and when you started out in your career and as a young lady and sort of going through to where you are now?
We have made great gains. But when I look back and I think about where we are today, and where women in the world are today, and the discrimination that we still endure, I think that we have a lot more to do, particularly when you think about the gender pay gap, how far away we are for women. When you think about the number of women that are raped just here in this country and how many of those cases are prosecuted. When you think about the fact that we still only have less than 30% of women in positions of power. When you think that of the 26 million people who leave their homes because of climate change, 20 million are women. And the way that women suffer with climate change and how that makes them even more at disadvantage when that happens.
Tell me about that, because statistically women are more likely to suffer from natural disasters. Why is that?
Well, but because women are the carers, because women are often, they work the land for subsistence, because women are the ones that go and carry the water when there is drought, because women take care of the children, because sometimes they're more likely to die as well. I mean, it is an enormous number and they're very different when you see that. So we can't detach the issue of climate change from the issue of gender equality or gender inequality.
You have spent a long career making a stand, haven't you? You gave up acting because something that we now talk about a lot because of the Me Too movement. You felt that you were put in a position where you'd said no to nudity, and then you found out some body doubles were being used, and you actually had a court case over it, didn't you? Because you were so cross and felt like enough is enough, I don't want to be part of this. In terms of that sort of thing, do you think the world has changed?
I think it is changing. I mean, the case of Weinstein has been extraordinary. The fact that he was condemned is, we never expected. I think that the 2 days before or the day before, we still believed that he couldn't possibly have a verdict against him. So there are changes. But
why is that? Because he was so powerful for so long, it seemed
because we have an insidious culture of discrimination of women at all levels, in the film industry, in the media, if I may say. I mean, the media has been instrumental in belittling women. And one thing that I can say to women who are working in the media is don't be complicit in what the media tries to do with women, because they are part of that. I mean, what we read in the papers more than what we see on television, but sometimes as well on television, contributes to belittling women.
What about the world of politics, though, Julia, as well? Because you've come through, you're the first female Prime Minister of Australia, hopefully not going to be the last, undoubtedly blaze a trail. But do you feel like it's getting harder or it's getting easier for female politicians? We saw a lot of female politicians over here before the last election stepping down, saying, do you know what, the advent of social media, the abuse that I'm getting, I don't want to put myself and my family through that.
I think the social media era is bringing a new range of pressures. So I think if you look over time, the direction of travel is good. More women coming into politics, and there are actually more women in the House of Commons here in the UK after the last election than ever before, so that's great. But if you look at how social media and the media generally treat those women, there are a lot of issues to be concerned about. At the Global Institute for Women's Leadership, we published some research done by an Australian, actually, that compared the British newspapers for the first 2 weeks after Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister in 1979 and the first 2 weeks after Theresa May, and found that the coverage of Theresa May was more gendered than the coverage of Margaret Thatcher. Now, I don't think that's because...
More gendered?
More gendered, more comments about appearance, much more focus on the fact that she was a woman than in the era of Margaret Thatcher.
That's amazing.
And I don't think that's because attitudes to gender have got worse. I think it's that the media is different. You know, back in 1979, there was a level of respect. You wouldn't have said, oh, the Prime Minister...
About any politician.
About any politician. You wouldn't have said, oh, the Prime Minister's wearing a hideous jacket or she's got fat ankles, or done the sort of picture that was done of Theresa May with the Scottish leader with their legs and asking the question who had the better set of legs. That wouldn't have happened in 1979. But whatever the cause, it does mean that we're living in an environment where women and girls who might be thinking about going into politics see more gendered treatment and more discriminatory treatment. And I think we can do better than that.
You're going to have a chance to go to Barry in Wales, because that's where you're originally from. You were born there, weren't you? And first 4 years there.
Yes.
You're going to have a chance to pop over.
Yes, I was. I'm not going this trip.
No.
I went last year and I met with the Welsh Assembly and I got to go to Barry and stand outside the house.
Do they greet you well?
Born.
Are you like a rock star there?
Well, I think, frankly, I'm a curiosity, because it's a very odd thing for a girl from Wales to come back with an accent like this, having been Australian Prime Minister. But I think I'm a very good Trivial Pursuit question, because I'm actually the only Prime Minister ever born in Wales, because Lloyd George actually wasn't born in Wales.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, so there's one for
you
a
just help
Friday
everybody's
night
Friday night
quiz.
pub quiz.
Yeah,
you
that's
just sorted them out right there.
Everybody will get that right.
Yeah.
I think Barry Bados has just got a bit more glamorous now that everyone knows that Julia was there. Have you ever seen Gavin and Stacey?
I've seen Gavin and Stacey, and I proudly drink my coffee when I'm at the Institute at King's College out of a Barry Barbados, you know, Barry Bados.
Barry Bados
mug. I carry it around. They gave it to me when I was there.
Well, you are lush. I can say that. So
and I know you mean that kindly.
In a good way. Julia, thank you very much, and Bianca Jagger too. Lovely to talk to both of you.
Yeah, good luck this weekend
Thanks
as
very
well.
much
It's lovely
indeed.
to meet you. Thank you for coming in.